This was originally going to be a 10 digital painting tips compilation video, but I ended up getting way too into tip number 1, and so now it's the entire video. I didn't want to rush explaining it when it's something that I've found so helpful and groundbreaking. If you want your digital paintings to have a more dimensional and tangible look to them, then you might find this helpful too. Say you have two planes on an object that share an edge. One of these planes is in light, and the other in shadow. At the edge between them, it can look really nice to add a slightly lighter highlight up against the edge on the lighter plane, and similarly, slightly darker shadow up against the edge on the shadow side. It doesn't matter what subject you're painting, whether hard or organic shapes, this really is applicable for any solid material. Here's a couple of examples that are less abstract. On this shoulder, we have this area in shadow, and this area in light. The shadow gets slightly darker, closer to the meeting edge, and a subtle highlight on the light side can make the edge pop just a bit more. And in the case of a more geometric shape, like the corners on this book, you can add highlights to these edges in light and darken the other side of the edge. These lighter spots in particular can sort of build up in corners, so if you're painting a plane that has corners, you can put the most prominent areas of light there. If you're painting a more shiny, reflective material, these can be a fair bit lighter than the rest of the plane, but otherwise, don't forget to keep it subtle. Eventually, you'll get the hang of this and start to use it without really thinking. If I look at a painting of my own, I can start spotting all the different areas. I've used it pretty much subconsciously. It's really become a part of my style, and working on this video made me start thinking about where this comes from. I'm almost positive I picked this up from Cynics, who uses this in a similar way that makes his human anatomy rendering look really nice. A lot of painted looking props, environments, and clothing in things like Arcane also have this, which helps in adding detail and a sense of material to them. As for real-world examples, there are definitely places where you can see this happening as well. I took a picture of this bust I have, which has lots of planes and edges. If you want, go ahead and pause to see how many cases of this you can spot here on your own. There's more than I expected, really. Some that I think are especially prominent are the edge of the collarbone here, the cheekbone, and there's a nice little highlight built up in this corner here. Looking at an actual human face, there aren't nearly as many distinct planes and edges. You can find a couple examples if you really look for them, like the light and dark meeting at the lower eyelid edge, but in real life, you don't see very many sharp plane changes on organic forms. It's almost entirely soft edges. Everything blends into the stuff around it. There is a personal preference aspect to this, but the lack of hard edges on things like faces is something that can take away a lot of appeal if you try to replicate it in your artwork. Hard edges create focal interest, something for your eyes to grab onto. With this in mind, you can exaggerate and add some more noticeable plane changes and sharpness to some spots on the face and other organic objects, within reason of course, in order to make them a bit more fun and have more opportunity for these dark against light edges. Here's a couple more videos on digital painting. Thanks for watching!